This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, episode 401. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome into another edition of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information in and around the video game industry, with a little bit of common sense political commentary sprinkled in here and there. My name is Nick Craig. Thank you so much for listening here with us this evening. A little weird to say 400. I've been saying 300 for nearly 2 years, episode 401. You can check me out on social media at Nicholas M. Craig. You can also visit my website, nickcraig.com. Before I introduce my illustrious co-host here, quick kind of personal programming note here, Brian. A lot of folks know that my full-time job is as a talk radio host, and tomorrow morning I am going to be exclusively interviewing the 45th President of the United States, which is President Donald Trump. He'll be joining me at 8:35 Eastern Time live tomorrow morning. Follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig for details on that. Very much looking forward to that conversation with the former president. But you know what? Talking to him is great, but talking to Brian with an I Aldridge is a whole nother level on top of itself. He's joining me as he does each and every week. Brian, good evening, sir. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing well. And of course, if you want to find me, at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, and Truth Social, Trump would be proud there. And if you want to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. And if you go check out our website, infectionpodcast.com, make sure you go to the upper right-hand side and you can join our server on Discord, where we've got 11 ARC servers going. You can jump in there and play, move your dinosaurs and all your gear between all the different servers. They're all linked. We also have a news channel where we'll be talking about one story that was linked in there this past week. And if there's a topic, maybe there's a game coming out, there's something happening that we're just not covering or you think we're going to miss, post a link in there and we will review it before the live show starts. And that really helps us out and make sure we don't miss anything. If you wanted to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch and YouTube. And those are recorded, have recordings for after the fact as well. And then for the podcast form of it is audio only, but it is recorded and then uploaded after the show's done. And that's at the lower right-hand side. There's a lot of platforms, devices, and ways to listen to the show. And if you're going to do that, I would encourage you to go to the particular episode, because then you can follow along. And we have links. We have an audio and video player, a lot of source material, video players. So if you are listening to it and it's after the fact and you're trying to save some bandwidth or something like that, or maybe you heard it on the road and you want to go see a video that we played, you can do that right there. And there's a lot of different, everything that we talk about, there's a link to the source material for that. So if you want to support us, there is a support option up top, and infectionpodcast.com/support.
Yes, absolutely. Want to thank, of course, our ongoing supporters that have been with us here, ride and die, for many, many years now. All right, Brian, we've got kind of an eclectic mix of news today.
Yes.
Of course, we'll talk about the big GTA story coming up here in a minute, but I want to start with Nvidia. As they announced their 4000 series cards today. They, in their keynote announcement, they announced that the 4000 series cards are in fact going to be coming out. This just a couple of days after the big EVGA story, in which EVGA, which is the largest third-party producer of Nvidia graphics cards, said, you treat us like garbage, we're done, and EVGA is not going to be making 4000 series cards. So it's going to be
crazy.
Just a couple. Very crazy, to say the least. So that's what's going on there. But these new cards are out. Listen to these prices, Brian. The RTX 4090, which is a 24 gigabyte video card, and has a launch of October. MSRPs for $1,600. Now, let me ask you this. What game is taking advantage of 24 gigabytes of VRAM? Don't say GTA 6. Don't say Cyberpunk.
None yet.
Nothing. But here's the thing. But hold on. Yeah. Nothing takes full advantage of the 3000 series cards. The 3090. You can play nearly every single game at Ultra Max, Super Ultra Edition. So that's the first one. The next one
Yeah.
is the 4080, which is a 16 gigabyte card. That's an MSRP of $1,200. There's a 12 gigabyte version of the 4080 as well for $900. What in the fuck is Nvidia thinking? These cards are way too expensive, way overpowered, and just not needed. Brian, I would make the argument that a top of the tier 2000 series card is still very, very suitable for high-end gaming in 2022.
Yeah.
I still stand by that. What in the hell are they doing with a 24 gigabyte, $1,600 video card?
Well, and I think they're probably setting themselves up a little bit for the next era of gaming. Because, I mean, if you look at what Unreal Engine does with just the crazy, super high resolution images, they're doing some tricks to make it to where it doesn't load all that at once. But I don't know what these other engines are going to do trying to compete with that type of technology if they don't have something similar where it's not loading everything into memory. Because to get to everything looks high quality, you have to load all that stuff in video memory.
Yeah.
Because pulling it from the hard drive, it's going to be lag. I mean, it's going to be our early days of art all over again.
Yeah, and God forbid you have a spinning drive and not an SSD or an NVMe. It's an even bigger big chug. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're kind of setting up for that. And not that these technologies are needed right now. There's people that will buy these. That's the crazy thing. There are people that will buy these. And I think this is more of, I'll own one of these in 7 years, maybe 10 years. I still got to get a 3000 series or something like that. I still got to get a 2000 series.
Well, and that's kind of where I was at watching this this announcement this morning. Was just like, it was yes, I want to get a 3000 series card, but I've got a 1070 right now. The new Call of Duty comes out in a couple weeks now. I'll give that a shot because that's my game. If it doesn't play great and it doesn't look great, maybe I'll upgrade a card. But guess what, Brian? If it plays fine on my 1070, I'm rocking and rolling. I have no reason to upgrade right now, and I can't outside of the high-end enthusiast, the YouTube streamer, the Linus Tech Tips, the Gamers Nexus, the Jay's 2 Cents that are going to do this crazy $7,000 PC build, or the guy that will post his picture on Reddit with his crazy workstation. I just don't see any sort of broad general interest for a card of this spec. There's no workload where it makes sense. No video game can take advantage of it, and it's not a CAD card. This thing is not meant for CAD and other computer aided things. And it's not also, people say, for movie animations. That's a whole different series of cards. Nvidia makes a whole line of cards.
Specific ones for that.
Trying to remember their names, but they don't even have outputs because it's meant to render things.
It's just rendering. It's a renderer card.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch, Brian, but it doesn't seem to make sense.
Here's where my bottleneck. So there's one thing that I've run into that's been to where my card is not able to handle that, and that has been with the new Unreal Engine 5 editor.
Okay.
These big worlds and maps that they do, I need to get either, if I want to work in those inside of the editor, just because it's not pre-rendering and compiling and optimizing and making everything like a compiled video game is. You're doing it uncompiled in the engine directly. That for me has been a bottleneck to where I haven't been able to play with some of those levels, and I would need to get at least a 20-something card.
But I want you to rephrase. You're having issues running the most updated version of Unreal Engine on a 1080, which is what, a 7+ year old video card?
Yes. So yeah, exactly. And so that's why I understand the limitation, but that's where my bottleneck is at right now. Games have been work fine for me. I haven't had any issues with the games that I've tried to play, but that's been my bottleneck. Now other people may run into them other places, but that's where for me the only temptation I would have to get another card is if I would want to play around with really big maps inside of the engine. Yeah. So
I would make the argument that you could maybe even get a middle of the road 2000 series card and probably cruise along.
Probably be able to pull it off.
Exactly. And I think that's where it's a little disappointing. And I'll tell you this, I don't, as you know, and as our listeners know, we're not the biggest fans of Kotaku. We've been very critical of them over the year, but they've got an opinion piece out today with the headline, NVIDIA's new 4000 series PC graphics cards are too damn expensive. And they're right.
Yep.
They are just too damn expensive. And they're just and there's not a use case for these things. The baseline 4000 series card is $900.
Yeah.
I think that's all you need
crazy.
to hear.
And that's what a computer, so and it's a hard thing. Someone says, how much does a gaming computer cost? Well, how much you want to spend on a video card?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
What do you consider a gaming video card? Because if you're going to go and say, I'll quote you a $1,500 computer to build something that'll run games, right? Or you can get a $1,500 video card.
Correct.
And then, the rest of the computer with it. It's
not
your
even
choice.
that.
What do you consider a gaming computer?
You could if you bought some used parts, you get a nice $900 gaming PC that's maybe a couple generations old, or you can buy a 4000 series GPU. I mean, it's ludicrous. Yep. I'm not sure what Nvidia's thinking, especially in the state of the economy right now, as so many people are, kind of fall. And obviously, you can't change your business dramatically because of the economy. That the things like inflation are hopefully temporary. But nevertheless, I foresee these cards being a massive flop for Nvidia, and just there was a lot of interest for the 3000 series cards, Brian, and there still is right now. I don't see that there's going to be any interest for these cards. Zero.
Well, they've got to get some of these cards in kind of that sweet spot that some of the original older cards got into for a while, where they were okay. That's a reasonable price. I'll buy some of those. Yeah. I remember I bought two. I bought two of like the 900 somethings in their sweet spot. I bought this 1080 when it felt right. But now I'm getting to a point where's the sweet spot again? All these prices are going down, but I don't know where the good deal is across all these different ranges of cards. I want to make sure it's going to last me a while. But the prices are fluctuating so much, it's kind of difficult to jump in.
Yeah, and exactly. And what exactly do you need? And that's why build a gaming computer. Well, what are you trying to play? You trying to play Rocket League and CS:GO, or are you trying to play the new Grand Theft Auto and build games in Unreal Engine? Now, there's a very broad gambit there. So links are in the show notes for that if you want to check out the keynote from today. And obviously the big news being that EVGA announcing that they're done with Nvidia. And part of the reason, Brian, was that they don't find out the MSRP for these cards until the public does. Their largest third-party vendor that produces their cards, they're using their GPU chips, doesn't find out about the MSRP for a card until Nvidia announces it publicly. And it might be because they saw that.
It's hard for them to plan.
Well, it's hard for them to plan. And as I was thinking about this afternoon, maybe the reason that they're dropping Nvidia and getting out of it is because maybe they got some insight as to what these cards were going to look like and said, this is absolutely ridiculous. We are not.
How are we going to sell these?
Well, and that's the thing. Nvidia is selling Founders Editions for $900. That's the cost for Nvidia. And then Nvidia has to add its own cooler up. The baseline card for the 4000 series would cost for an EVGA card would cost at least $1,000, if not more. So maybe that's part of the reason.
And that's just crazy. Yeah. And the economy right now is just not in a place. I mean, I'm looking at here, we had one of the most booming housing markets and everything. And now we've got one of the most overinflated housing markets. Yeah. And now I'm seeing for sale signs just lining the streets. People selling their houses where before they'd be sold within days. Now they're not selling. The economy is cooling, if you want to call it that, where people are not spending money on these things. I mean, if you look at what the hardware market is just kind of floundering right now, and then they jump out with these. I know they've been developing these for a while and didn't anticipate that the market was going to be so bad, but now's the perfect time. Come out with a budget card that people will buy in droves. If it's something that doesn't have to be crazy, but find what's going to upgrade their current card to something that works with new technology, right? That's budget. That'd be the perfect seller right now. And instead they turn this thing out.
Yeah, definitely some problems there with Nvidia, and maybe cracks the door a little bit for Intel to get their act together with their new Arc series GPUs, and AMD to get their RX series of cards into more people's hands. So that stuff is expected out later this year. We'll of course keep an eye on it, and we'll let you know. I'm sure there will be some pretty significant pushback in the industry with that. So stay tuned for that. There's other big story this week too, Brian, right?
Yeah, okay, so Rockstar had kind of a little bit of an unexpected twist People are always saying,
Snafu.
when's GTA 6 going to come out? Yeah, when's GTA 6 going to come out? Well, there was a huge leak, and it looks like it's accurate. Like this is real stuff. Because sometimes you'll see these sites. Oh, we've got we've got the date, the release date, or whatever for Grand Theft Auto 6. We've got this, we've got that. Well, a hacker went in and was able to pull quite a bit of GTA 6. Now, I will say probably early testing footage. Now, it's kind of hard to say where they're at and how quickly because they've hired on a ton of positions. I don't know how their cycle goes as far how far along they should be. I watched some of these videos, and a lot of the links that had these videos are now taken down. We're not going to be showing these videos. But there was just a giant leak with hundreds of videos and material and everything showing early GTA 6. Now, this isn't polished, Call of Duty style cutscenes. These are animations. A lot of them working on animations, AI. What GTA and Rockstar are famous for is creating seamless action, right? Of whether it's the AI walking around and going to this and seamlessly going to that, where you drive by them really fast and they react, oh, you're going too fast, and it's not rough looking. It's them kind of figuring out all of those animations and getting it to where everything looks right. I haven't looked through a ton of it. I kind of just jumped through a few of them to see what they look like. You see a lot of clipping, which is, when clothing goes through, the character and things like that. So this is definitely not polished yet. But there's a lot here, and it looks like it's accurate. And it kind of confirms some of the rumors of having the two antagonists, the male and the female. And it's kind of set. Now, I don't know if it's set in some previous locations. So I don't know if this is saying that it's not going to be. Maybe they're using an old map for testing and they're working on a whole nother map, but I'd be kind of surprised. I'd have to look through really to see, but it doesn't look like this is going to be another location or anything like that. It was codenamed supposedly Project Americas. And these files, they said to have the word Americas in their name. And so, some of them show it running on like a PlayStation 4 dev kit. So these could be, however many years old. It's kind of hard to say if these are actually recent things.
Yeah.
Now you want to give Rockstar's response to this?
Yeah. So this was, this is more than just like a guy with a cell phone taking a picture of a computer monitor inside of one of the Rockstar studios. This was they're calling this a network intrusion in which somebody had access to either, and what it probably was, Brian, was what we've seen before, is an AWS droplet or something like that did not have proper security on it and was publicly available, and somebody stumbled across it. But they claimed that somebody had unauthorized third-party illegal access, and they were able to download confidential information, including early development footage for the next Grand Theft Auto. So, yes, the information is, and some of the leaks are true. I mean, GTA verified that, or Rockstar, I should say, verified that the leaks are authentic and they were obtained from their network. I would assume if in fact somebody broke into Rockstar, there will be some pretty hefty legal challenges. Rockstar has been known to lawyer up against Projekt 5 and some of these third-party services in the past. If somebody truly was able to get into a Rockstar server, which they weren't supposed to have access to, and downloaded that information, it will be interesting to see what Rockstar does. Now, if this was we didn't have the security set correctly and somebody was able to just, hit a public AWS instance and download the files, I think you're probably going to have a hard time trying to stonewall anything through on that. But either way, it is interesting to note that the game is definitely in development. I think it's safe to say that. But the fact that you mentioned the PS4 dev kit, I would guess, Brian, some of these this information is years old, potentially 2+, 3 or 4 years old worth of things right now. So I guess we just wait and see.
A lot of the stuff I saw looked really old. as far as not old, but unpolished, very,
Which
very,
would make
very
sense.
unpolished.
This game has presumably been under development since what, 2014, right? Didn't GTA 5 come out in 2012, 2011, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then a couple of years later, they announced that they're going to be starting the next one, and then there was an announcement that the FBI is looking into this hack.
Well, I'm sure.
So I'm sure they'll find that Trump did it. But either way,
we've tracked I'll ask him tomorrow morning about it. I'll say, Mr. President.
Hey, we heard the FBI is looking in. Do you think?
Yeah, Mr.
Do you
President.
think they'll find you guilty of leaking?
Yeah, have you? What are your thoughts on the Grand Theft Auto 6 leak and the FBI investigating you? It's a witch hunt. It's a total sham. Okay, I've got nothing. I don't believe me. I want to play GTA 6. I want to kill prostitutes. I want to do all that. Okay, but I didn't. It wasn't me. I didn't hack the GTA. Okay. So yeah, I'm sure they're the FBI. I'm sure will be the crackpot investigators that they are. Maybe they can go rummage through some high school kid's room and put some video game discs all over the floor and take a picture. GTA 5 came out in 2013. So presumably this game has been in development since 2000 and potentially even earlier than 2013, but at least 2014, 2015. Which would make sense if that's when some of this leaked stuff was from. But they've been somehow getting this stuff off the internet. I don't know if they're doing takedown notices. I'm not sure. DMCA. I'm not sure how they're getting rid of this stuff, but a lot of it is kind of vanishing.
Well, and okay, so here's something else that came up a number of weeks ago. But the GTA creator, the person who created the original GTA, got copyright strikes put on his prototype videos from making the original game. He was one of the founding employees of DMA Designs, which is now Rockstar North, and he had videos of just the top-down view Grand Theft Auto, the original GTA, which is top view. They DMCA'd him to take all those videos down, which is kind of funny, being that you can't even buy it anymore. It's
kind of funny, but. And I hate to side with the man, Brian, but this guy this intellectual property was created when he worked at DMA
or that company,
and that company is now part of Rockstar Games, and they own the intellectual property. I know I sound like a douche, but. That's how it is. You don't own that property when you work for a company. I mean, Brian, you spent time working at Google, and there were different projects and things that you worked on. You don't own that stuff. Google owns that intellectual property. You were an employee.
Yep. I signed NDAs saying, NDAs saying that, and he signed NDAs probably.
Well, it doesn't even matter signing an NDA.
When they merged now those would be expired, but still, that's copyrighted information owned now by Rockstar North or Rockstar Games in general.
Correct. As the company sold, the assets get absorbed, and the intellectual property rolls down the chain. And while I feel bad for him, and it's kind of a crummy situation, it is what it is. You don't truly own the rights to that stuff, even though you're a part of it. That is I struggle with the same thing. I don't own my radio show. As crazy as that sounds, I am employed by a company.
What you say is owned by someone else.
Yes. Now, obviously, I can say what I want, but in terms of I haven't gotten into it, the legal side of it, because I haven't had a need to. But that property is technically owned by them. I am an employee of that company. So for me to take those things and then market them and sell them at a different time or a different avenue would definitely be highly illegal, and
exactly. And as a software developer, that's very real for me now, because everything I create, I'm creating for a specific company at the moment, right? And if I leave that, if I'm no longer having that company be my client, I leave everything that I've done up to that point with them and walk away. I don't put it on my LinkedIn or anything like that unless I ask for permission to do that. And if he wants to show these videos, he needs to get Rockstar's permission to post these videos on his YouTube channel. That's just how it works. That's what he needs to do, and it sounds like he did not do that. So
yeah, and then of course a bunch of morons on Twitter that don't understand anything about how copyright works or intellectual property. Like, Rockstar is attacking the original creator. And it's just like, oh my god, you guys are just so dense. Like, you just have no concept of how any of this stuff works in real life. It's incredibly frustrating.
All right. Hey, I want to talk really quickly about a game, my first video game I ever purchased.
And Pong in 1972.
No, I didn't purchase Pong. I had a game that was an open source game that was an ASCII game before this one, but this is the first one where I put in money, sent it to a video game magazine. They had you put your money in an envelope or a check.
No, I don't know.
You'd mail it off, and they would send you back some floppy disks that had your game on it. And so my friends and I, this is kind of illegal, but my friends and I pooled together I don't remember if it was $15 or $20 or something like that to buy Wolfenstein 3D back when I was in junior high.
Oh,
so this is I'd have to see early 90s. I was 12. So I think it was like 1992 is when I bought this. That's what the bottom one. Maybe the right one. I don't remember.
So I don't know.
Right
this is a lot of different Wolfenstein games on floppy disk on eBay.
Yeah. So we had Wolfenstein 3D, and I loved that game. I was 12 years old, played it, and that's been illegal to buy this game in Germany since it's been released.
Why?
And up until now, they've just allowed. Because of the Nazi insignia stuff, and things. Mm-hmm. So they finally unbanned in 2019, but it didn't have classifications from Germany's age rating board to be able to release it. And now it's been rated, and you can actually buy Wolfenstein 3D, which I have on my arcade machine out in the living room. And not our youngest son now, but our 7-year-old was playing it because I said, hey, I played this game when I was 12. And so, it's an arcade version, so it doesn't have all the Nazi stuff in it. But he thought it was pretty cool.
He's like, this game sucks. Where's the flying? Where's the dancing? Where's this game is awful.
I figure, yeah, he didn't ask about skins, so he must have realized that it's an old game, and this is what games look like when I was older than he is now, even. But yeah, so that I thought it was kind of funny. Saw that pop up, and I was like, this game, my first video game, finally available to buy in Germany, which they have very strict rules about any kind of Nazi symbolism, all of that in Germany. They locked that. Ever since the war, they've locked all that down to where you can't show anything with Nazi symbols. You can't do anything regarding Nazism.
Interesting. So, I really didn't have any idea about that. I wonder how that's worked with a couple of the not the recent Call of Duties, but World War II. That was a big controversy. Yeah. That had some Nazi insignia in it, and I remember, of course, a lot of people were outraged about that in the U.S. At the time, I don't remember hearing anything about it in Germany.
I bet you they probably have a version that takes out insignia and things that they sell in Germany, kind of like what they do with certain things in China. Yeah, taking out those. So, and then one other one that popped up is I brought this up before: the Rise of the Triad. You remember me talking about Rise of the Triad?
Yeah, that was only a couple weeks ago, right? Yeah.
Yes, they finally got a launch window for that, and they put out their trailer for it. So that was the first one I ever played multiplayer, other than a BBS game. So you could dial up with somebody on a modem and play a first-person shooter with them. So, and one thing that they kind of mentioned in this video is was at the time a very cutting-edge game, which I remember being, because it allowed you to play multiplayer. There just weren't games that did that. Quake was after this, if I remember correctly. And
Brian, I'm a cultured man, as you might be aware.
Yes.
So I was showing my girlfriend some of these like weird movies that, mainstream movies that a mid-20-something female has definitely never seen because it's just not their culture. So we watched War Games this past week.
Oh yeah.
And she was like,
"Do you want to play a game?"
She's like, "I don't understand. Why is the computer talking? Why is he on the phone? What's the phone?" And I was like, Oh God! Like
What's that thing
what do
plugged into the wall? Is probably what I expect her to
No,
say.
I mean, she knew what a phone was, but I was trying to explain the coupler and the beeping and the tones, and it just was like, it was just.
Oh yeah, hacking the phone system to be able to doing a tone, be able to dial tones.
Yeah, he was
for free,
dialing with
long
tones
distance,
and
isn't that,
yeah, free long distance. Then he puts it on the coupler, and that's the connection to the internet. Before dial-up modem, it was over phone couple. It was just interesting.
Did they have one where you set the phone like do the audio through the mic?
Yeah, it was
like
a coupler.
microphone?
Yeah.
Have,
It was just a little stand it would sit on. Yeah.
My first job was at Staples, and they
Jesus
sold
Christ.
one of those still.
I'm sure they did.
Well, I needed a job to like put on my resume so I could go get a real job, and so I worked there and did a bunch of computer stuff, and I remember them having one of those where you could take a phone and you'd set it on top of it, and it would be like you could use a regular phone line as a modem.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep. Very slow.
Without plugging
obviously.
into it. Very.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Imagine
slow.
the noise. I coughed. Oh, dude, my download failed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just interesting to see kind of trying to, being a tech nerd, understanding that, but for normal people in my age range, it is a very foreign concept. So there you go.
Well, and then one more thing, PUBG. We used to talk about PUBG quite a bit.
Yes, we did.
Taliban is banning PUBG. Finally they unbanning in Germany Wolfenstein 3D, but the Taliban is banning PUBG because they said it's too violent.
The Taliban, the people that put beheading videos on the people
Twitter?
That
behead people and put it on in the internet, and things like that, and genital mutilations and all that. But of course, PUBG is too violent. The Afghan government officials accused the app of immorality and misleading youth. It sounds a lot like what China says, too. If you look at how they talk about, how it's affecting the youth. So they say it's misleading the younger generation and wasting people's time. Which kind of what China said too, right?
Yeah, but their time could be better spent, throwing gay people off buildings and harassing women.
Yeah, and beheading people for choosing to have a different religion than their government.
So I mean, if that's your goal, then I would agree. It is a huge waste of time if you're a completely closed off society that doesn't follow any sort of cultural norms. PUBG is a huge waste of time. Correct. I guess that is an accurate statement, presumably.
And they said that this is going to take effect within 3 months. So they've already banned, I think it was to say 20 or 100,000. Let's see, like 23 million websites for immoral content and things like that. So they're really cracking down in Afghanistan. So.
Yeah, very funny to see how Afghanistan and terror cell and organizations like the Taliban and ISIS are the moral arbiters of things like media, speech, and things of that nature. Very, very interesting to see the moral high ground that can be garnered.
I know.
From these folks.
Well, a good thing they're fixing everything. Yeah, making everyone better.
Yeah, thank God. All right, so we've got a lot of other kind of news. I want to bring this one up here about CD Projekt Red surrounding Cyberpunk 2077, which has been a lackluster, I guess is maybe not the appropriate word to use. They announced that there's going to be an expansion to that game, and that they confirmed that Keanu Reeves, who is I'm trying to remember. Do you play as him in the game, right? Isn't he the main? He's the main protagonist.
Well, there are point times when you did, yeah. So I mean, he was there as kind of like it's in the beginning. So I'm not going to give you away a bunch of. Well, so no, actually, I mean, in the beginning, you see him and he's a kind of like a hologram.
He's like a ghost
talks
of himself.
To you. Yeah, and then there's points in the game where you actually play as him.
Okay.
Kind of you're seeing what happened to him in the past.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's been a while since I've played it, so he's a very big part of the game. He's not just like a spokesperson that did the trailer. He's an integral part of the game. I actually have one of the little Cyberpunk 2077 figurines, and it's of Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah.
But he is going to be in this expansion. It's called Phantom Liberty, and it is expected to be out in sometime in 2023. This might be depending on what the climate is looking like, and the video game climate in 2023, depending on when this comes out, Brian, this might be the kind of bump in the ass or the kick in the ass that Cyberpunk needs for a lot of people to say, you know what? I know I had a crappy experience at the launch, but I'm going to go ahead and I might do this too, is, wipe my play saves out and restart the game with this new expansion. So kind of interesting to see if they're able to kind of pull a brand revitalization with something like this.
They have right now on, I think, Netflix, they have a Cyberpunk animated series happening right now, which is actually getting a lot of people to play the game again. So it's on, I think on Steam, it's been hitting some of the top played game.
Let's check.
I would assume it's on Steam, but I saw somewhere that their numbers have gone up quite a bit because people are watching the show and then going and playing the game. And there you go. So you can see it's been steadily rising.
Yeah, it has.
As this series has been out.
Let's look at the last, 3 months isn't a good indicator. Well, that's lifetime concurrent players. Can I expand this chart out at all? No,
I mean, you're in a week view.
Yeah, I guess that's as far. It won't let me do like a 2 or 3 week view.
But you can see down below the concurrent players on Steam at 1 month. You can see September 1st. So at the beginning of this month, just 2 weeks ago, it's down at 25,000. Now it's over 75,000. So it's done quite a jump, 2/3 of a jump in player base, and it's still going up.
Yeah.
And one thing they've been doing is, I think in anticipation of this, they've been making improvements to the game. They are putting out a big patch to fix the police. They said the police are getting a complete overhaul so that works better. Nice. They also have released some new modding tools so that people can start, which is the thing that really can save this game and keep it moving forward. I mean, look at if people making mods and improving, creating their own storyline, introducing their own characters. There's a lot of things that they can do with mods that saves the development company from having to do this themselves. So I think you're going to start seeing that, because that's one thing that really kept the Witcher series going for so long. Plus, CD Projekt Red is going to be releasing new Witcher games as well. I mean, they're definitely not giving up after what originally happened with Cyberpunk.
Well, and it's not that they kept the Witcher series going. It's that the Witcher series came out and kind of lived its life and then got this kind of reburst a little bit later on. And it's important to remember that this game, Brian, will have been out 2 full years in December. And by the time this comes out in 2023, you're looking at, knowing CD Projekt's timeline, at least 2.5 years after the launch, maybe even 3 years, depending on when this DLC comes out. So this very well could be that, as you mentioned, similar to that Witcher, this kind of, played it when it came out, lackluster. Let me give it a shot again.
Yeah, and hopefully. The game, there's a lot that could have been, and I think I over anticipated, because seeing the possibilities of what they could have created, I wanted just some giant world. I had GTA level world in my mind. I think was what really caught me off guard, just because of how they talked about it and some of the scenes they showed. Because in my mind, Cyberpunk is something where you wander down the street and there's just so much stuff, because it's just a bustling city. And you just expect so much stuff happening around you, and they just didn't feel that. Everything felt dead and like a robot to me. Cybernetics is one thing, but everything felt like a robot to me. And so I think if they can really work on the AI, that would be one huge thing to make this, because that's one thing that's so good about Red Dead Redemption 2 and with GTA 5 is the AI. That's why you can wander around and do things, because there's things happening around you that don't feel 100% scripted. Everything feels scripted in Cyberpunk up to this point, and the police officers don't work right, and AI doesn't respond to you in a way that seems natural. I think that they could, if this continues to have a life of its own, keep fixing this game, because there's a lot that could be there. Keep improving it and make it to where keep selling DLCs, keep selling content for it, and see if you can put it to a point where people will not view the original version as what the game is.
So that is what I wanted to ask you. They have not announced the details on what the pricing is going to look like for this. But people looked at some of the Witcher DLC that they said was relatively equivalent, and the Witcher DLC was those typically ran about $19.99. To me, if I were CD Projekt Red, I would release this as free DLC to get people back to the game, because I can guarantee you I will not be spending $20 more on this game. I can sure as hell guarantee you that's not going to happen. So if the goal is to get people that have a sour taste in their mouth, get them to jump back into the ecosystem, this thing is going to have to be $10 or less or free. There's no way. And even $10 is like, do I really want to spend $10 more on a game?
There's a lot of content there, though.
Yeah, but it's the thing of, I already spent $60 on the original game and I wasn't happy with it. Do I want to give them $10 more? And I understand you need to be, you need to be compensated for the work you do. I'm not trying to negate that at all, and I'm not anti paying for DLC. But I think that's the question that they'll have to answer internally. What is the goal of this? Is it to sell DLC copies to the hardcore players, or is it to bring a large player base back to the game, entice them, dangle a little carrot in front of them, like giving them a free massive DLC?
Well, and this is the type of game that, if it were online, like we originally thought it was going to be, I think that you really could get a huge...
That never came out, did
just
it?
with a... No, they never made it online. And so I think if they eventually do that, just with the whole cybernetics thing, you could create the equivalent of dances and skins, giving your character the ability to do these cool things. Just don't make it so they can use it in a competitive way, in like PvP matches, but have it to where you can put cybernetics and look a certain way, and you can get certain skin tones. Like that, they have all the things to be able to sell little microtransactions and make it an online game, and only make the microtransactions matter, in some online environment type of a world. Because then people will fix up their cars just like they do in GTA. They get their character looking a certain way with all the different enhancements that they want to have. I feel like they really missed that. I think they were trying, but I think they ran out of time, and it was too buggy. And we talked about that, a number of weeks ago, as far as them saying it was that company that caused it.
Yeah. So definitely a lot of questions still outstanding for that. And again, 2023 is all we know as of right now. As we round out the program today, Brian, Google Play Games for PC has entered open beta in 5 more countries. It is now available in Thailand and Australia. And it was only available in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and South Korea, and now it's making its way to some more countries. And they claim that there are over 50 titles that are verified working through Google Play. They've kind of similar to the Steam Deck, where they go through and rate them and say like, oh, this is a good this is a good match and things like that. But this, I think, can do 2 things. First, it could make it for a mobile developer like the folks that made Diablo, Activision, make a game that could have, knowing it has individuals that could potentially play it on a Chromebook or on a Windows computer, but also still make sure it has good tap controls as well. But do both of those things, and now broaden the reach from just mobile controls on your phone to sitting down in front of a computer and playing. This could be big for the mobile gaming market.
Well, and if you look, like the one that they show on their tweet about this is a game that I play on a daily basis, Summoner's War. Mm-hmm. Now, Summoner's War, so I play Raid Shadow Legends and Summoner's War, which are very similar games, but different enough. Raid has a PC client, and they have one, and I primarily play that on the PC. I don't play it really on the mobile anymore. The Summoner's War, you have to play it through some sort of emulator. It doesn't work that well. So that one I don't play. I only play it on the phone. But I found that what they're doing in Raid is getting people to buy things on their PC client. They'll give you special prices or special deals if you purchase their PC client, because then they don't have to pay the 30% cut or whatever to Google. And so Google's got to be seeing this, saying, hey, some of our Raid, one of their top grossing, was #1 for a long time until Diablo Immortal came out. They're pushing people to start doing purchases outside of our environment. What can we do about that? Well, make it to where you're encouraging these companies not to make their own client and to have them run it outside. Give them the Google Play app, then they'll continue to sit here and play it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait and see what comes of that as the PC
When it gets released here.
The phone gaming market, the mobile gaming market, kind of broadens its scope, and getting rid of BlueStacks and some of those emulators. Brian, you got to leave us a little bit early tonight, and I'll round up the show here with the story. Yeah, just let folks know where they can find you online.
Yeah, if you want to find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Parler, Getter, Truth Social, and of course my blog biteoftech.com. And our website, infectionpodcast.com, where if you want to check out our Discord server, jump into there, check that out. We've got a news channel, toss some links in there of things that you think we need to cover. Also have our ARC servers, 11 of them going right now. Catch the live show on Twitch and YouTube. The after-the-fact upload is of the audio only on the lower right-hand side. Lots of places to listen there. And then check out our show notes where if you want to catch some of the videos, check some of the source material that we're discussing, or just watch and listen to the show right side of our website, you can do that there. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you next week.
Yep, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it as always, and we will see you next week. So appreciate Brian's time as always, getting all that stuff squared away. What we're going to do here is I got one final story, and we'll round out this edition here this morning. This is an interesting story surrounding Steam, and it's a bit of an exploit, or I should say a potential exploit, and it's a pretty sophisticated phishing technique that is using Steam's browser-in-browser functionality, I guess you would say, to as an attack vector. According to this, and it's over at Bleeping Computer, a security firm conducted the conducted this study, and what they found out is that inside of a Steam browser window, they were able to mimic a web page and allow them to make a fake Steam login form look trustworthy by displaying a fake SSL certificate lock symbol and other illusions indicating that it's a real login window. So on Steam, the scam's primary targets are individuals who, you send a direct message, click this link. Now, normally you don't click those links, but if you do happen to click one, it would pop up a browser, and it very much can make it look like you are accessing a verified Steam account or a Steam login page, and when in fact you are not. You are going and giving your information to a third party. For example, this is what it looks like. You can see here, the browser window looks like steamcommunity.com/OpenID. It looks like a regular login page based on the URL. But in fact, it is not. This whole page is completely spoofed to steal your login credentials or steal your login information there from Steam. So a very interesting attack vector. It's you get these messages on Discord, you get them on Steam as well. Always a good idea to just back off of those and not click any of those links. I got one today, somebody, hey, Nick, blah, 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 just, fake message and a link to some bit.ly or tiny URL link to win something, connect to something, or whatever you have there. So just be aware of that. If you start getting more Steam messages over the next couple of weeks, that is what is ongoing with, that's a potential exploit there, potential vector for them to get access to your account. All right, and for that, we are going to round it out here on this Tuesday edition of Infection Podcast. Brian already threw all of his contact information out there, and I'll just remind you, you can head on over to our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. You'll find the audio and video versions of the program, as well as all of our podcast feeds as well. And if you click on one of the individual episodes, you can go ahead and get show notes and links to all of what we covered on that program. I want to thank all of the individuals that have supported us over the years. You can find details on that on our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, or through Twitch using a Prime Gaming or just a Twitch subscription to our channel. All of that support is greatly appreciated. As I mentioned at the start of the show, if you're watching this live, I will be interviewing the 45th President of the United States tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern. That's Wednesday morning, the 21st. If you are listening to this after the fact, check out my social media at Nicholas M. Craig on Twitter, and I'll throw a link to that interview after the fact up on social media. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.